WPSC, Wayne, New Jersey. On the radio, 88.7 FM. Online, gobrave.org. A tune-in radio station. Part of the William Patterson Broadcast Network.
Broadcasting live from Hobart Hall in Wayne, New Jersey.
This is
The Innovative.
I think they're really unique.
The Fearless.
They have awesome variety.
The Kick-Ass.
I love Brave New Radio.
The Sensational.
I've never heard anything like it.
This is the one and only Brave New Radio.
The views and opinions expressed on this show are solely those of the host and guest, and are not necessarily supported by WPSC 88.7 FM, station management, or the station owner, William Patterson University. Anyone wanting to offer differing opinions may do so by calling the show at 973-720-2738. Abusive callers will be rejected. Now here's your program on WP 88.7 FM, Brave New Radio.
Good morning to you. And yes, if you can hear the sound of my voice, what's left of it, you're listening to another edition of The Reading Circle with your host, Marc Medley. We come to you live each Saturday morning from 6 o'clock a.m. to 7 o'clock a.m., where we bring you what's going on in the literary world, in the world of reading, in the world of books. And I do have another guest on tap with me this morning. He's already dialed in. So we're going to go ahead and go on with our usual ritual and routine. I'm going to share the weather with you in the northern New Jersey area. Read from 2 books, introduce our guests, share some information with you, and our interview will resume from that point on. So without further ado, right now in the northern New Jersey area, it is 49.4 degrees. We're going to work our way up to a high today of 85 with a low tonight of 67. Cloudy early with scattered thunderstorms developing this afternoon. Few of the storms may be severe. Scattered thunderstorms during the evening. There's a 40% chance of rain during the day, 50% during the evening. Then tomorrow, Sunday, 76 as a high, 52 as a low, mostly sunny, becoming windy during the afternoon, then clearing up on Sunday night. Monday, sunny skies during the morning hours will become overcast in the afternoon, high of 76, low of 53. And then as we rock on into Tuesday, sunshine along with some cloudy intervals, 82 as a high, 56 as a low. And rounding out the 5-day forecast, Wednesday, plentiful sunshine, high of 87, low of 59. Well, that's the weather brought to you right here from the WP 88.7 FM Weather Center. For June 11th, out of the book, The Power of Being Thankful, 365 Devotions for Discovering the Strength of Gratitude by Joyce Meyer. She says, disappointed? Get reappointed. A man's mind plans his way, but the Lord directs his steps and makes them sure. Proverbs 16:9. Disappointment occurs when our plans are thwarted by something we have no control over. We can be disappointed by unpleasant circumstances or by people who let us down. When we are disappointed, our emotions initially sink, and then sometimes they flare up in anger, but thank God we don't have to be led by emotions. The next time you are disappointed, pay attention to the activity of your emotions, but instead of letting them take the lead, make the decision to manage them. There is nothing unusual or wrong about initial feelings of disappointment, but it is what we do from that point forward that makes all the difference in the world. With God on our side, even though we will experience disappointments in life, thankfully, we can always get, quote, reappointed, unquote. Trusting that God has a good plan for us and that He orders our steps is the key to preventing disappointment from turning into despair. Prayer of thanks. Father, I am so grateful that when I deal with a disappointment, I can trust that you have a better plan than mine. Thankfully, I can trust that you are working even when things don't work out the way I planned. That's from the book, The Power of Being Thankful, 365 Devotions for Discovering the Strength of Gratitude for today, June the 11th. From Iyanla Vanzant's book, Until Today. For June the 11th, she says, I am now willing to forgive myself for all of the time I have refused to follow divine orders. Psst, come closer. This is a message for you. It is a message intended to make you feel a lot better about yourself. It is a message from the angels and the good spirits of life. The angels and good spirits of life are asking you, stop beating up on yourself for what you are doing or not doing. In other words, they don't like it. They are also aware that it doesn't matter or make you feel too good either. The angels and the good spirits of life have heard the things you have said to yourself and about yourself. They are simply appalled. They know that if you could have, you would have. They know that when you can, you will. The angels and the good spirits of life would help you if you would allow them to. They also understand that when you feel bad enough, you will ask for help. It doesn't have to be that way, but the angels and the good spirits are aware that you have a few trust issues that require healing. In the meantime, they have issued a divine order that you cease and desist all forms of self-criticism, self-judgment, self-flagellation, self-punishment, and self-destructive behavior. The angels and the good spirits of life forgive you for partaking in such self-dishonoring behavior in the past. Now they want you to forgive yourself and stop it. Until today, you may have spent a good portion of your day beating up on yourself for all the things you did not do to your satisfaction. Just for today, forgive yourself for the way you have treated yourself. Today, I'm devoted to following the divine order to cease and desist all forms of self-criticism and self-judgment. That's from the book Until Today by Iyanla Vanzant. Our first reading was from The Power of Being Thankful, 365 Devotions for Discovering the Strength of Gratitude. As I said, my guest is on the line. And it says on his site, meet near-death experiencer and spiritual counselor Tommy Rosa and Dr. Sinatra. That's the co-author. But this morning I have Tommy on the line with me. 15 years ago, Bronx-born plumber Tommy Rosa died in a hit-and-run incident. Lying by the road, he felt a tug whisking him off into a tunnel of light to meet a divine teacher in heaven. After several weeks in a coma, Tommy returned to Earth to walk again with a heightened sense of connection to one and all. Around the same time, Dr. Sinatra, an integrative cardiologist, was dismantling the prevailing ideas of preventive pharmacology with his holistic approach to treatment. In their first encounter, Tommy got the intuitive message that Dr. Sinatra had an infection in his hip. Tommy's insight confirmed Dr. Sinatra's own similar thoughts of infection. And when Tommy shared with Dr. Sinatra the divine revelations of healing that he had learned, Dr. Sinatra was shocked. The keys to solving the imbalance of energy that he had identified as the cause of most chronic illnesses were the same as those Tommy was relating. From the intersection of the divine and the scientific, Tommy Rosa and Dr. Sinatra began writing Health Revelations from Heaven and Earth. a unique prescriptive guide for healthy living. Inside, you'll discover the 8 revelations gleaned from God that will lead you toward revitalized health, newfound sense of purpose, and spiritual balance. Health Revelations from Heaven and Earth fuses together equal parts of inspiration and science. Every revelation is fully corroborated by Dr. Sinatra's 4 decades of medical expertise and backed by clinical research. What is more amazing is how specific these revelations are and how related they are to the advice leading-edge doctors are now giving their patients. In each chapter, you will relive Tommy's heavenly initiation into one of the 8 fundamental health revelations. Then you'll learn practical step-by-step practices developed by Dr. Sinatra for applying the revelation to your daily life for profound healing and lasting health. The essence of these revelations and Dr. Sinatra's recommendations support the fact that the body, mind, and spirit are all made of energy which emits vibrations. These revelations and their real-life applications will show you how to understand your personal vibration, elevate it, and use it to change your life and health. Ladies and gentlemen in the Reading Circle audience, welcome to the microphones, Tommy Rosa. Tommy, good morning.
And thanks so much for the introduction.
Oh, you are more than welcome. I tell you, this is a topic, you have 2 topics that I've always been fascinated with, and that's actually life and death. It's kind of like you have the whole NDE, the near-death experience, and I'm always interested in health and how I can better serve my body. And so your book actually is a cross-section of that based on your experiences. So I'll tell you what we're going to do. I'm going to share some information with the listening audience. Listening audience, you know the deal. Get on all of your social media sites, and I mean all of them, and let someone know that Tommy Rosa is on the air with me. We are going to be discussing his book, Health Revelations from Heaven and Earth.
Hey, what's up? Thinking about you. XOXOXO. Want to snuggle. ... JK. Hit me back. You getting these texts? ? We should hang later. I miss you. Holla at ya, boy. Holla back. Holla back. Holla back. Are you at home? Where are you? What are you doing? OMG. You are making me mad. Are you with your ex? You better text me back. I'm waiting outside your house.
Relentless, aggressive texting is like sending an angry robot to deliver your message. When does the robot become dangerous? Let us know at that'snotcool.com.
That'snotcool.com.
Brought to you by the Ad Council.
You're listening to The Reading Circle with Marc Medley on Brave New Radio.
Yes, indeed you are. You're listening to The Reading Circle with Marc Medley. As I said, we come to you live each Saturday morning at 6 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time, and we are web streamed all around the world and all the different time zones, but we broadcast on FM radio here in northern New Jersey at 6 o'clock a.m. on Saturday mornings. And my guest calling all the way from the Sunshine State in Florida is Tommy Rosa. So, Tommy, let's take this back to the beginning. Normally, my first question is kind of like, where did the writing begin? You know, was that something that you did in high school or in, technical school or beyond regular schooling? But this morning, I'm not going to start with that question because the subject is so interesting. I think I know when you started, when the writing was after your experience. So let's talk a little bit about first the hit and run incident, and then we'll work our way up to the writing of the book.
Great. So one evening, I used to go down to a neighborhood store to get something I might need for the house, a loaf of bread or water or something. And I just one morning take this little couple block walk, and I just had to cross the street to get to the neighborhood store. And one night, I walked across the street and got hit by a car going 40 miles an hour with no lights on, and I was pronounced dead when I was 40 years old. And I was in this beautiful white tunnel of light going face first, And as I was going through, I saw pinks and blues and a constant little smell of frankincense, it must have smelled like to me. That's what I wrote in the book.
Right.
And then also I had this beautiful hum sound, like an om sound. And that was so peaceful, and so I wasn't afraid at all. And as the light got stronger and stronger, I felt more and more at peace. Then all of a sudden, I'm in this beautiful room where the light dissipates. I'm laying on my back, and I can't move an inch. I'm paralyzed. And I'm not even scared, and which is amazing because this is a whole new experience. Next thing happens is I stand up, and when I stand up, I'm not touching the ground. I'm hovering several inches above it. This doesn't even alarm me. Then the next thing happens is I'm looking in front of me, and here is this big ball of white light coming at me. And I can't really make it out because it's so bright. So I had to keep taking my eyes away to adjust. All of a sudden it adjusts, and I see it's a man with his long brown hair, a halo, beautiful white robe, bare feet, and he's hovering also. About a minute later, he says to me, "Hello, Tommy." And in my mind, I said, how does this guy know my name? And then I was more surprised that he wasn't using his lips. He was speaking telepathically. So my first question was, why am I here? And he said, you're here to learn about life, love, and health. And my response was, why me? And he said to me, why not you? And I really believe that when I asked that question, why me, I think God says that to anybody. Why did he choose you?
Right.
To do anything. It's all part of an experience. We're all loved in God's eyes, and each and every one of us are part of his divine plan.
So when you first, all right, I'm listening to you, and you sound very conscious of everything going on. So when you got hit by the car, did you feel that? Because we're still here on the Earth side, we're still human. Did you feel the car hitting you?
No, don't remember the car hitting me. I don't remember a couple of months earlier either, where I was and what I was doing. All this was filled in by me later on, because I don't remember anything months before. Totally out of my mind.
So as you get hit by the car, and all of a sudden you find yourself feeling as if you're going through this tunnel. So that means you were still conscious, still awake, still alive. Were you able to look back and see yourself now down there on that street or on the road?
Nope, I didn't see myself at all. I just saw the light, and that was going through the light, and when I stopped in that room, I don't even recall even seeing anything of my existence on Earth. I was in that tunnel, and all of a sudden I was in this new place, which, by the way, was so beautiful that you didn't want to leave. And in the book, you'll see, I don't ask who my teacher is later on because I didn't want to lose the experience of what I was feeling. You ever know that sometimes you say if you ask too many questions, it might stop?
Right. That's absolutely right. And it's interesting because the experience you described, and I've had a couple of guests that's had NDE experiences, or NDEs rather, because that's redundant. And for those of you listening on this, if you hadn't caught one of those shows, NDE stands for near-death experience. And actually, as you heard Tommy say, you're actually pronounced dead. You're gone. You're actually on the other side, but you come back. And I can relate to what you're saying because my grandmother, she had passed away. She had an NDE and came back, and she said this. She asked, "Why did you all bring me back?" Because wherever she was, she said it was so beautiful that she didn't want to come back. And I also had another friend that had one very similar very quickly, and she said the same thing. And so there are more and more people, and it's always kind of been, because I remember reading Elizabeth Ross Kubler-Ross. I remember her books and some other books on that subject of this experience of this. So as you go there, you meet this teacher, and you and the teacher begin to have a conversation.
Yes.
But they're not necessarily driven by questions by you. The teacher just kind of knows what's on your mind.
He just knows exactly what's on my mind, and then he starts to lead me into all this information. And the first thing he says to me, one of the revelations, is that each and every one of us are all connected to each other and to God through a divine spark on conception. And I said to him, what do you mean we're connected? He says, it's an illusion that you think you're not connected, but we are. And And he gives me an example. He says, just think about 9/11, how everyone ran to church, he said.
Right.
And the consciousness of each person had the fear in them to run to church to try and be saved. The other one he gave was the Chilean miners, how everyone came and supported them when they were all saved, because the consciousness was all connected to each other. So, he says, if you're having a bad day, don't put it on to other people. Change your thoughts to change your actions.
Right.
So you don't affect everyone around you. So you go into an office when someone's not having a good day.
That's right.
Their energy shifted.
That's right. And see,
And
this whole...
down.
That's absolutely right. And this whole notion of energy is what I don't think enough people really understand the concept, because it really does. One person's mood can change the entire room.
Yes.
So as you're going through, because I'm looking through the book, I'm up to chapter 10. I'm almost done with it. I'm up to chapter 10, and it's broken out into parts. You have part 1, which is heaven. Part 2, the 8 health revelations from heaven. Then part 3 is transformed.
Right.
And as we get into the chapters, we have the revelation of connection. That's what we were just talking about. That's chapter 3. You're talking about your journey as you went through. And in no time, you felt no fear.
No fear at all. And, I've realized later on what the light is. The light is a transformation to transport yourself to heaven. But what it does is it increases the vibration of your soul so you can get to that new dimension.
And once you get there, what do you do? I mean, is it like,
there's school, there's universities there on divine knowledge, on how to increase your divinity, to raise yourself up when you go there to learn new things. So it's all about raising your vibration.
Right.
To divinity. The higher your divine self, the higher you are in heaven, the more things you can do, the more people you can see. I mean, you can just think about this. You can just think it and be there.
Wow.
And that's how my teacher took me around. We think it, go through this little speck of light, and all of a sudden I'm in a new area. Like he put me into the ocean. And I love this ocean story because it's all about faith over fear. So here I am in this beautiful ocean. I see all this beautiful turquoise water, blue and dark blue. And I can see all this coral thousands of feet down, the whales, the dolphins, the stingrays, the fish. It's beautiful, breathtaking. And I'm watching all this, and he is standing on the water next to me, my teacher. Then I go to ask him a question. He disappeared. And then in the horizons, I see this beautiful 6 or 7 boats coming, and I said to myself, oh, I'm going to be saved by the boat. I don't know if you ever heard the story when I was in Sunday school. They said to me, well, remember this. You never know how God's going to come and help you. And here's the story. One day this guy is drowning almost. He's on the top of his roof.
Right.
God sends him a boat, and he doesn't take it. And he gets to heaven. He says, hey, silly, I sent you the boat to save your life. You didn't do it. He says, well, it wasn't God. He says, I sent the person there, silly.
That's right.
The message. I can't get there, but he did. So I said, I'm taking those boats.
I know that's right. Now, I'm looking in the book, because some of the things I've highlighted as I've gone through, matter of fact, to even talk about this morning. There's a part in there that says you're talking about Van Lommel. And he says he concluded that consciousness exists separately from the physical body and lives on after our earthly lives are over. In other words, death may end our physical bodies, but it isn't the end of who we are. Our spirits live on, which is exactly what Tommy was told in heaven.
I met him at a conference, and we talked for hours. And what is really unbelievable, and people don't realize this, that when we call it death,
right? It's
just death of the body. The spirit never leaves the soul. It always lives on. And that's what we have to be conscious about. Because being afraid of death just makes you have that death consciousness in your mind that'll lead you towards it.
Right.
Have no fear of death. Have this faith that God is here to protect you. He loves you unconditionally. There's one thing I learned in heaven that God cannot do, and that is stop loving us.
Wow.
No matter what we say, think, and do. So remember that, and don't beat yourself up. There was a whole thing about when I was in heaven about how humans beat themselves up for making mistakes.
Right. That's That's right. That's the reading I had. That was for today.
It was perfect reading because they're not mistakes; they're life lessons. If you go out with somebody on the wrong date, let's say, and it was a bad experience, you were supposed to experience that. Don't beat yourself up over it. There'll be someone who's in your life you're supposed to be with.
Right.
But don't get all upset about things. When you get upset and get angry, you lower the vibration of your body, and then illness can take over.
That's correct, because we're going to work our way into that, and that's the message that people really need to get. And this is where this whole notion or this whole concept of energy comes in. And that's where, I mean, again, back to the power of positive thinking and how you think about things. Mm-hmm. We're not talking about this Pollyannish looking through life through rose-colored glasses and so forth. But and I'm one who's experienced this, and that's why I'm always fascinated by this topic. There is no question in terms of when things get in positive flow that it has to do with your expectations and vice versa. When things start going, it's like people use that example of if you get up in the morning and you stub your toe and you holler out and curse out and everything from that stubbing of the toe on goes wrong because of the stubbing of the toe. Now, at the same time, you stub your toe and you, like you just said, you take it for what it is. All right, you know what? I have the pain for a couple of minutes, but I'm still going to have a great day. Things will tend to go the other way. But a lot of people don't get that. I mean, you have people who hold grudges, because people who hold grudges, I try to tell all the time, you need to release that because it will turn into some type of an illness, and you're so right. So
also, anger affects the liver.
Right.
And the liver is under a lot of stress today from all the pollution and the foods we eat with all the chemicals and poisons that are in them. So you don't want to add even the thought of negativity into your body because it affects the organs.
That's right. I'm reading from the book again. Tommy learned how we are all connected. That's what we talked about, and that everything we do, good or bad, creates a ripple effect. He was made aware that everything is energy, that we determine our own physical toxicity on Earth by our actions, that we need to take care of our bodies, that our thoughts are powerful, that we have guardian angels, that life's purpose is to live through the heart, and that the only important thing in life is unconditional love. Now, the love thing, I'm a principal of a school. I've told the story many times that we have the word love strategically placed all around the building so that the kids constantly, wherever they walk or wherever they see the word love. Just because I'm trying to get it into the subconscious of love. And we all have heard love conquers all. You know, love covers a multitude of sins. But yet we seem to be in a world filled with hate.
Well, I learned that there's two different types of love when I was in heaven. The human love always has lust and a condition.
Right.
But God's love is unconditional and is plentiful. So just think about that. If it's about having someone have lust and be in love with them that way, or loving God for what he trusts you and believe you knew, that one's going to make you feel much better.
Now, you say, during my trip to heaven, I was reunited with loved ones, met angels, got a glimpse of God, and learned divine teachings. I knew it was all true and not a dream or hallucination. Because I know, when you start telling your story, I'm sure people start coming up with, okay, you know what, he was dreaming, it was his imagination, it was the drugs, the mind does certain things within the first couple of minutes of death, and then after a while it shuts off. And I mean, I'm quite sure you've heard all of that. But you're very clear in your book that this was not a dream or hallucination.
And I got confirmations from a lot of things that went on in heaven later on in my life while I was consciously here.
Right.
Like one day I went to this grotto in the Bronx, which if you want to go there to really feel good, it's a great place. It's the Lady of Lourdes replica. And I rebuilt the shrine there. I put all new fencing in and cobblestone curbs as a gift for my life because I felt 6 million people visited in 60 years.
Wow.
I believe it was a place where I used to go when I was a kid because I'm blind in my right eye, and my left eye got much more powerful. And in the book, you'll see there was a couple of miracles there. I gave a girl a couple of dollars to buy a candle, and I see her the next day, and she tells me, I didn't buy a candle, mister. I bought a pizza and a slice of pizza and a Coke. I said, listen, you had to eat.
Right.
God's mad at me. And I says, why are you mad at you? He loves you. And then I was hosing the ground, and my footprint went into the water, all right, my foot, and I put onto a dry piece of the stone, and from my footprint, a crucifix appeared. And that was a confirmation that I was really in heaven.
Right. If you've just joined us, my guest this morning is Tommy Rosa, and we're talking about his book and his experiences that even caused him to write the book is Health Revelations from Heaven and Earth. And as I said, I've had guests on the show before that have explained and shared their near-death experiences, and Tommy is sharing his. And the hope is, like he said, death should not be something that we should be afraid of, yet it is. Because I think so many folks, Tommy, see it as the unknown. I don't know what's going to happen whenever, I'm done, whether I'm done, or do I keep on? Then we have the whole thing of heaven and hell going on. All right, am I going to go to hell? Am I going to go to heaven? Have I been good? Have I been bad? You just have so many things going on. Then you have those that don't care one way or the other. But, so for you, prior to the incident, was death an issue for you, or you never really feared it? Or how did your life change in terms of how you see life after your experience? And I want you to hang on to that thought, because I'm going to share some more information with the listening audience and let somebody know again that Tommy's on the air with me. Fascinating subject, fascinating topic. And not only are we going to talk about the near-death experience, but we're going to connect it to your health and your life here on Earth. And see, because that's the thing. He didn't just go there and come back and tell the story about the light and the ohm and all that. There's a connection between what we do here with our bodies and there. And so we're going to talk about that when we come back as well. But while I'm sharing this information with you, get on all your social media sites and let somebody know that Tommy's on the air with me. We're talking about some good stuff this morning.
I started going cold turkey. Well, at least when I'm in the car.
I know I shouldn't do it, but it's so hard to stop. That's why I hide it from myself, so I won't be tempted.
I used to do it all the time. I stopped by locking it in my glove compartment.
My friend used to do it way too much. Now I turn it off when we're in the car.
My solution is simple. I just don't do it.
There are lots of ways to stop yourself and others from texting and driving. How will you stop? Tell us at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
The thought of my sons growing up without me inspired me to quit smoking.
I talked to my doctors, and then I threw away all my cigarettes, ashtrays, and lighters.
I started exercising instead of smoking.
Staying away from alcohol when I was first quitting was key.
I kept on trying, learned something each time.
Do whatever it takes.
No matter how many times it takes.
We did it, so can you.
For free help, call 1-800-QUIT-NOW. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and CDC.
You're listening to The Reading Circle with Marc Medley on Brave New Radio.
Yes, indeed, you are. And my guest this morning is Tommy Rosa. And we're talking about his book, Health Revelations from Heaven and Earth. And Tommy, while right before I shared the information with the listening audience, I asked him the question, how did his perspective on life here on Earth change after having the near-death experience? And did it change? Was he one that really death never concerned him prior to that, or did it change after? Tommy, how did that work for you?
Well, I always believed that there was no death. I always believed that the body died and the spirit lived on. That was a confirmation I had since I was a young child. And getting back to what changed was that I realized that everything is an action. Every thought, everything we do can affect an outcome that we want to obtain.
Correct.
So I have practiced this for many years now, and I see how I can think something and it'll start to happen in the near future, which is pretty amazing. I mean, like meeting Dr. Sinatra was started a year and a half before I met him. I see him on a TV program, and my wife has also intuition. She says, you're going to become good friends with him, and you're going to meet him, and he's going to help you with your heart. And I said, well, he lives in Connecticut, I'm in Florida. How is this going to happen? But if God wants it to happen,
that's right.
Put it out there. So here I go to this conference, and my wife says to me, I'm going to practice serapeptase, which is a vitamin that helps get rid of bacteria. I was using it to keep myself clean because I learned that in heaven. And we go to the conference, and there's 100 people standing there, and Dr. Sinatra screams out, does anyone have any serapeptase? And no one had it but us. And that's how we got the connection to meet him. Come on, that's a year and a half
Right.
earlier. It's all planned out. Everything's planned out. And Dr. Sinatra realizes that he met me to conquer his fear of death and to also give him confirmation that certain things that he was doing on Earth is what he was instilled in him years ago when people thought he wasn't doing the right thing.
Right. And see, this is where science and spirit, this is where it connects, because a lot of times folks who are scientists will poo-poo the spiritual side. Oh, that doesn't exist. There's no such thing as God. There's no such thing as heaven. There's no, because science does this. Science doesn't confirm this. But the truth of the matter is the two are intertwined. And every one of you all that I've spoken with, because I had Eben Alexander, Dr. Alexander on the show. I had Mark Anthony on the show. I've had a few others on the show as well. And all of you are giving similar type reports.
Uh-huh.
So when you're like, for me, this seems extremely normal and natural for me. And I don't know if I fall in like the weird category or what. But the question I have for you, when you start sharing your story with people who are skeptical, how do you handle that, or how do you approach that?
That's an interesting subject to bring it up, because when I first had my near-death experience, I was afraid to tell anybody about it. Like when the doctor said to me, "You're not going to be able to walk for a long time," and I said, "I'm walking out of the hospital," because I knew intuitively that God was going to make me walk after seeing him. And if I had told him that I just came from heaven, he would have put me in the mental ward.
That's right.
I knew not to say a word. And then what happened was, I had got these gifts from going to heaven about intuitively seeing what's wrong with a person's body by looking at them as a medical intuitive. And I started working with people with the fear of death, and I noticed that all these gifts I had, I never had before. I was a plumber before.
Okay.
Now I can sit there and have a conversation with a medical doctor about the body and how it works and what's causing it not to work right. So that's what fascinated Dr. Sinatra about the whole story.
Well, I am sure. So the two of you link up, and now you have the opportunity to really kind of help people improve their health, whether it's through vitamins. As a matter of fact, some of the vitamins you all recommended, I actually started adding into my regimen, like the carnitine, however it's said, carnitine, or whatever.
Yeah, L-carnitine,
yes.
ribose, magnesium,
yes,
and CoQ10.
CoQ10, right. So CoQ10 I used to take, and I had stopped, so I added that back in, and I added the L-carnitine in after reading the book.
So let me explain to you what that's called, a vital force. Now, everything is energy, so I learned that a mitochondria cell that's in our body is the living cell of our body. And when that gets toxic from cigarette smoke, alcohol, chemicals in the foods, pesticides, parasites, then our body starts to age. And what Dr. Sinatra learned is that when you give vitamins and supplements, those four awesome to the mitochondria cell, it increases what's called ATP production, and the body's cells start to vibrate higher and make you younger. So, I mean, I have only one gray hair out of my whole head, and my hair is black because I've been following that program since I came back from heaven. And I'll be 59 years old next couple months, 2 months.
God bless. Well, you an August baby?
Huh?
Are you an August baby?
September.
Oh, September. Okay, well, my pastor will love you. He's a September baby. I'm an August baby. But my pastor's September. He makes sure everybody knows it.
So, I always have two birthdays. I have the birthday that I died on and the birthday that my physical body was born in. I get 2 birthdays a year.
There you go. So, I mean, I'm just, fascinated by that whole travel, the whole meeting of, when you met relatives and people that you knew before, and did they talk, or did you get a chance to talk to them, or did you just see each other?
We saw each other and talked back. And when I had to take a second glance, because I never knew my grandmother when she was 33 years old, because she looked different. But my father looked the same almost, but it was fascinating that when you pass, you go down to age 33 if you're 80 or 90 years old.
Right. I remember that in the book. As a matter of fact, you just said the number, and I was getting ready to say I remember seeing that in the book in terms of everybody reverts back to like around that 30, 33 time frame.
Yes, and then if you're a child, you'll be a child. There'll be 1, 2-year-old, 3-year-old, whatever it is, because there's children in heaven too. And the funny thing about watching these children in heaven is they'll hover and walk around too.
So, but you're not actually seeing physical bodies. It's just that your spirits recognize each other.
Right. Well, it's a body that looks physically like you had on Earth, but it's a spirit. It looks like you, but it's not really you. It's energy. Energy can take any form. Which
right.
Is anything. And I really didn't believe, after coming back from heaven, how everything has energy, even the air we breathe. And I learned how to measure all this from going back from heaven, how even water has what's called a general vitality or life force.
Correct.
And what I'm in the process of doing now is I'm learning from the masters on how to clean up the oceans, to change the frequency of the water, to get rid of all the pollution, which is a pretty amazing thing to do because we're in trouble with our water.
Yes, we are.
And I designed a barge, which I'm working on doing now too, that will help get all the plastic out of the ocean. So,
well, you know what? That is a worthy cause, and because I mean, if you think, you wonder, especially like when you go to the market or whatever, all the bags they give you are plastic bags, and then everything we use has some form of plastic, and it gets thrown away. So, and it takes bazillions of years for this to dissolve. So you just kind of wonder, where does all of this stuff go?
What I do is I bring a canvas bag to the store now. I don't use those plastic bags. If everyone did that, we would save a lot of bags.
Right.
And then those canvas bags you get for $2, and they never wear out. And one thing good about not having a paper bag or a plastic bag, you're not going to have any type of bugs coming with you home, too, from the store.
Wow.
So I have those little bags, and I use them. And they're much easier to carry things in. They don't break apart either. So
right. Now, we were talking earlier about unconditional love. In the book, you said that you saw unicorns?
Yes. Now, unicorns used to be on Earth.
Right.
And what happened was the vibration of the planet got lower, and they couldn't exist here anymore. There's a beautiful museum in New York City, if anyone wants to ever go. It's called the Cloister Museum, and it has a whole tapestry of unicorns.
They do. I've been to the cloisters. You're absolutely right. And you say here where uniforms represent purity and unconditional love.
Yes.
Well, it makes sense you would see them there then.
So what happened to me, a story about that, I go to the Cloister Museum. I'm sent to all these places for reasons I don't know why after my accident. So here I am in the Cloister Museum, and this beautiful woman comes out and says to Mister, the private tour for the unicorn tapestry is going to start in 5 minutes. You have to come inside. Well, I go inside, and I knew it was not a human being because it was a whole different vibration. I go inside to the private tour, and there's 50 people on the private tour. So I started laughing to myself and say, okay, God, I get the message. I'm supposed to go on the tour.
See, and then, you're absolutely right. You were speaking earlier about when 9/11 hit, how everybody, because I remember the ecumenical services in Yankee Stadium, and I often wonder, why can't we do that more often? Why does it take a catastrophe to pull us together like that?
Well, what happens is fear sets in. Everyone was afraid the world was going to come to an end, or World War III. And they wanted to be saved, but you have to understand something. You want to be saved every day.
Right. That's exactly.
Days if something happens.
That's the point. And that's where the disconnect for me is as to why more people don't get that. And that's what preachers are preaching and church is all about. And those of us who do believe are trying to share with those who don't believe, so forth and so on. So that's where it's kind of like, and for me, because this is going back to the love thing again, it seems like for me, that the world really would operate more if people were operating off of the concept of love. If you're making life better, if everybody on the planet was making life better for somebody else, that means somebody else would be making life better for me and you.
Right.
So each of us would now be supporting the other. In other words, but we seem to have just the reverse. It seems like there's less and a less respect for life with all this. I turned on the web this morning and I was on Yahoo and I see one of the girls that was on the show The Voice got killed in Florida, as a matter of fact. I think it was 22 years old, got shot coming out of a club she just performed in. We're seeing more and more heinous acts. So
the reason for that is this: the consciousness of God is getting stronger. We're in end times.
Ah.
End times could last hundreds of years, but we're in the end time cycle. And what happened is that the dark energy is getting dissipated. So it's fighting back to have its last stance.
That makes sense.
That's why we see a lot of violence, a lot of hatred, and things like that, because it knows in a short time, which 100 years to God is nothing.
Correct.
1 minute in heaven is 20 years. I mean, we only come here for 3 minutes in heaven time. It's 4 minutes. I mean, that's pretty amazing, right?
No, it really is.
We think it's a long time, 80 years or 90 years when you live to, but it's only 4 minutes in God's time. So what I really believe is that, and he showed this to me, is that it's fighting back because it's on its last stand. And then eventually, heaven will be here, by the way.
Correct.
Earth will become heaven. And there'll be no negative energy here. There'll be no hatred. There'll all be love. And the planet is also changing, too, by the way. The frequency of the planet is getting stronger now. It's starting to detoxify itself. And this is why I was told to work with the oceans, because water is 70% of the planet. And then by cleaning the water up, the food supply gets cleaned up. Because these fish are eating the plastic. And then we eat the fish, we got plastic.
Correct.
Bees in us, which destroys the health. And this is why cancer is prevalent today, because of all the pollution, too. We are destroying ourselves, and we have to stop.
Yes, we are. I'm looking here in the part 2, the 8 health revelations from heaven. So literally while you were there, because you broke it out in the revelation of connection, the revelation of faithfulness, the revelation of vital force, the revelation of grounding, the revelation of the body, the revelation of positivity, the revelation of self-love, the revelation of purpose. That's where I'm in the book now. I've gone all the way through everything else. I'm at the purpose and the great moment. Talk about why did you break out like that? I mean, how did you walk us through your lessons very quickly?
When I went through these lessons, I knew that I had a hard time concentrating on them all at once because they kept coming, right? And I said, if I'm having a hard time in heaven getting this information so fast, I have to break it down in pieces so people understand. And by breaking it down into pieces, different aspects of our life that need to understand about how this works. Now, purpose, right? People don't realize when you have your purpose, you now are beginning to vibrate differently because you're enjoying what you're doing.
Correct.
To help others. Like your purpose on this show. This show, when you started this show, I can feel your energy shifted.
Right.
Because you're helping people.
Correct.
And as a principal, you're helping the students, too. So you got dual purposes in your life, which people can have that. So once you find that, everything changes. Your attitude changes. Your love for yourself changes because you feel good what you're doing. And most people don't even know what their purpose is.
Right.
I did a show with, it's called The List I was on, and I told people, just write what you want to do to have fun, 3 or 4 little Post-it notes, put on your refrigerator, and in a couple weeks, try and do some of those purpose things.
Correct.
And you don't have to have it believe with money. See, purpose people think is, I have to make money with my purpose. That's not the truth. I mean, your purpose could be just taking care of an elderly person for a while, or being a mentor to a kid who needs help. That could be a purpose. It doesn't have to be monetarily satisfaction to you. And that's what we get all mixed up with that.
And you're right.
I think money has to be with the purpose.
In terms of the vibration, that's why people always say follow your passion. There's another book that's titled Do What You Love and the Money Will Follow. I mean, there's, in terms of doing what you love, because when you really, I mean, what we're really trying to get you in the listening audience to understand is, in terms of the energy and the vibration, there's negative energy, there's positive energy, good, bad, however you want to break out or dichotomize it. There are 2 distinct polars. They're polar opposites, all right? And you really can influence, even because it's called the law of attraction, because that's in there as well. What you think about, you attract to you. That's what Tommy was talking about earlier. If you're constantly thinking about death, thinking about you're scared to die, thinking about, something's going to happen to you. That's because it
really is amazing, and I mean, I could write a whole book on how things I thought about how they all came through.
Same here. You're right.
We just don't realize it when it happens. I mean, I met someone the other day in having a sandwich, okay? And the woman says to me, I saw you on a Dr. Oz. I said, really? Then she says to me, oh, I want to come to see you and go over my fear of death. And so I'm going to bring my friend. And who's your friend? And I said, well, I just worked with a husband last week. How could that be connected like that? It doesn't make sense.
But it's true. The fact that, okay, this is my 15th year on the air. And I had written in my journal, because I said, like you were talking about the Post-it notes, list 100 things you want to do before you die or whatever. Uh-huh. On that list was having a radio show. And I've told the story over and over again about how this came to be. And again, it was divine providence. It was God, because it had to be, but it was linked back to the list. And more things on that list have come to pass. And like you said, it doesn't necessarily, a lot of people think, all right, I wrote it down today, it's going to happen to me tomorrow. No, it might be something that you wrote 10 years ago that happens 10 years later. But you think back, wait a minute. I remember saying I wanted to do this, I wanted to be this, I wanted to meet this person, I wanted to... If you put it in the thought, because thoughts really are things, they really are. You can't see them, but just the fact that you're constantly going over that in your mind, that's why I love, affirmations for what they're worth, subliminal. I love the power of words. Every morning in my school, the entire building, we call them the reality check or the I am statements. But all the kids have to repeat after me. We go, I am reading better and better every day. I am understanding math concepts better every day. I am behaving better and better every day. I am coming to school on time. I am present on time. Because I was trying to help them understand, whatever you put behind the words I am, you become.
Well, I'll bet you this. Your attendance record in your school is probably better than anybody else's.
Student-wise, if I can get my teachers to do it, but student-wise, we are up there.
Yeah, because when you put those positive thoughts into some, children need structure.
Correct.
Without structure, they don't feel loved. You don't have to be beating kids up and stuff.
Right.
Say, this is what you have to do, and put limits to things. It's not about abusing kids or hitting kids. Hitting doesn't do anything.
Right.
It's just giving direction on what they have to do. And they don't have that. They run rampant. And a lot of parents today are all worried about, I go out to dinner with somebody, and all I see is the kids at the table, right?
Right.
They're on their iPhones. The parents are on the iPhone, and no one's talking to each other.
That's correct.
That's not going to work because there is no human connection going on. And this is why people go out and shoot somebody, because they have no connection to humanity.
Well, this is true, and I'm glad you said it, because I think a lot of what's kicking in, because I am with you. We call it all different names. You want to call it a negative force, you want to call it the enemy, you want to call it the darkness. We're pretty much saying the same thing. And with the end times, I honestly believe that in terms of the darkness, the force, kicking back. I really do. And a part of that really is exactly what you just said. And a lot of times, even with our television programming, our movies, our video games, they have desensitized us to human life. Yep. So you really got kids that, because they kill somebody in a video game, they don't see any different from that when they go in the street and actually kill a human being.
Yep. Because the consciousness understand it's a human life because they saw it being done in a film.
Correct.
And that's why I believe all this violence should stop in a film. There should be more movies like the Dolphin Tale.
Right.
About how a kid rescues the dolphin and becomes attached to it. That's such a great story. We don't have great stories. We have everything about violence and hatred and things like that. And we got to change the way we think about things.
No, we really do. Earlier in the year, because not only do I do the radio show, and I also write a blog. And earlier in the year, Fox introduced a show, and I don't know if it's still on. It may not have survived, or maybe it is. I just haven't seen the ad. But Fox introduced a show called Lucifer. And the whole show was about the devil, was about Lucifer.
Yep.
But somewhere I had read years ago that programming was going to become more and more demonic by design.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, years later, I began to see more and more demonic type television programming, demonic type movies. Even the problem I have with rappers, I don't have a problem with hip hop per se as a music genre, but I do have a problem with the negativity that all of the rappers, for the most part, are pushing if you listen to their songs.
Oh, yeah. Now, one thing about getting back to music now, that people don't realize that music has a vibration too.
Correct.
So you listen to Bach and Beethoven, you will raise the vibration of your body to be healthier. You listen to rock, hard rock, and to rap that's negative, it's going to lower your vibration.
Right.
So what happens, all these kids listen to this, they're lowering their vibration at a younger age, and that's why illness is coming over so fast.
Now, are there anything to do for specific illness? Let's say for my wife, for example, my wife suffers with acid reflux. Is there anything that she would be able to do that would help that to either lessen or go away? I was diagnosed pre-diabetes. It runs in my family. I'm not diabetic yet, but the doctor told me you're borderline. Are there any things that you can do that will prevent or either alleviate whatever you've been diagnosed with?
Well, yours is easy. Just stay away from processed sugar.
Right.
And because sugar has the lowest vibration of anything.
Wow. And that's what we ingest the most.
Because it's a consciousness to make us sick, okay? Because it tastes good, let the human people be sick, but we can give them that food and make money off of it, and they're going to be addicted to it. And that's what the consciousness is. So we got to change that consciousness. Sugar, these dyes, all these things affect us. And we have to cut out the sugar because our vibration of vitality is like 1,000 to 1,500, let's say. But when you eat sugar, it lowers your vibration to 700. So what has the highest vibration foods? Kale. It's 3,500. So you eat kale, you help detoxify your body, you give more energy to your body, and you get more healthy. Because kale also has reasons to help detoxify metals and funguses from you. Now, also grounding is good for you, too. Ground 20 minutes every couple of days.
And that's when you're talking about actually going barefoot in grass or something along those lines.
You can do it in your basement, too, if you have a concrete floor. You don't have to be outside.
Oh, so will it work on wood?
No, it doesn't work on wood.
It doesn't work on wood, but it'll work on concrete or on natural earth.
Yep. And what it does is, Dr. Sinatra did a lot of testing on it, and he shows that it reduces the thickness of your blood. It lowers blood pressure. It also helps lower blood sugar. And what I learned in heaven was, God says to me, I give my people ways to heal, and they don't use it.
Right. I can indeed, right.
And it doesn't cost any money. I'm giving them for free. I started laughing because it was funny. I said, what do you mean you can heal yourself with it? He says, just grounding. And go hug a tree. Trees have the highest vibration of any vegetable, any vegetation there is. Grass has a good one too, but trees are very old souls.
So when you say hug a tree, you mean literally walk up to a tree and put your arms around it?
Oh yeah, and it'll give you back so much love you won't believe. And I wrote a children's book.
Right.
It's called Unicorn Adventures, about a boy named Christopher who gets lost in a rainbow forest and meets a unicorn. And I wrote this book because I realized kids have a lot of fears. And the fears come from their parents, and it gets instilled in them.
Correct.
So I wrote in the story is that when you have this fear, you block out God's love. And I use the unicorn as a metaphor of the unicorn having full of God's love. And when you touch the unicorn horn, you become full of God's love. And the unicorn goes through the forest, and he meets Honey Hare, a rabbit who's bossy, Maurice, who tries to control Honey Hare, and Aurora is the unicorn who takes care of the whole forest. And he goes on this tour, and he's not afraid that he got lost in the picnic, because the unicorn takes his fear away and then helps him get back at the end. But it was about to tell people, kids, that everything's alive, and everything is connected. The animals were connected. They spoke in this forest. The trees would talk to you and listen to you. And then one day, I was recovering from walking. My legs weren't walking so well. I was in a park, and this kid goes over with a baseball bat and starts hitting a tree. And every time he hit that tree, I felt the pain in the tree.
Wow.
I walked over to him. I said, little kid, I says, every time I hit that tree, he feels it. He said, what do you mean it feels? That tree's dead, mister. I said, no, you see the green leaf? It means it's alive. He says, really? I says, yeah. So he walks over to the tree and gives the tree a hug and said he was sorry. And I started crying because I felt all that release of the energy. It was an amazing story.
Wow.
So we have to understand, even you cut grass, you should ask its permission because it can feel it. It's alive. Cut a tree, tell the tree you're going to cut it. Don't shock it.
I want to try. See, those are the type of things I love. So if you're in the listening audience, you see me one day hugging a tree, you'll know why. And because, I mean, it's
the most powerful tree on the planet today are the redwoods.
The redwoods, and that makes sense because they've been here so long.
And you know why? The redwoods represent Jesus. They were planted on earth when he was born.
Wow.
So redwood has the highest vibration of any wood. And that's why they're over 2,000 years old, some of the trees.
When we're talking about energy and vibration, because I truly, first off, I love life. That's the first thing. That's why I like to do so many different things, because I really love the fact that we can, all right? Mm-hmm. Secondly, I love to laugh and play. But you have some people that are just so stodgy and so rigid and so inflexible, and just everything has to be this, and they don't smile, they don't laugh, they don't play. That's where I believe there's a big shift in vibrational energy as well. I believe laughter, because they're one of those cliches is laughter is the best medicine. I truly do believe that in terms of, again, positive vibrations, laughing and playing and having fun.
When I did a study with people, right? I said, okay, you think there's a fellow who did, I forget his name, but he did an experiment with water. He just wrote the word love on the water and hate, and they had a different vibration just by putting the words on it. He measured it. So, I mean, it's amazing how everything radiates with love or no love.
Yeah, exactly. And, I tell folks all the time, you need to lighten up. I mean, you're too tense. You're too...
Remember this? It's only a dream. This is not reality. It's a dream.
Well, I saw somewhere in the book where he was talking about this was... I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but it was kind of like, this is a rehearsal.
It is. And people take it so seriously. Remember this. We're in control of our dream. I always say to people, we can make this a heaven or we can make it a hell. I'd rather make it heaven.
Correct.
It could be a hell, but I'd rather make it heaven.
I could not agree more. It was like, let's have some fun with this thing. Everything does not have to be so tight. It doesn't have to be.
What I really learned is that God makes everything so easy.
Right. And we mess it up.
We make it hard.
We complicate it. That's right.
I mean, we make it so easy. He makes it easy for us.
Right.
We just make it hard. I mean, I don't know why we do that, but we do.
If you've just joined us, my guest is Tommy Rosa, and he is author of Health Revelations from Heaven and Earth. And we've talked about a lot of things over the last hour. Tommy, if you can hang on a minute, there's things I need to do because we're in the 7 o'clock hour, but if you can hang out for a little bit longer.
Oh, hang out wherever you want.
All right, good. So I'll tell you what, let me go ahead and turn it over into the next hour, do that, and give the weather and everything that we did in the 6 o'clock hour. And then we'll continue on, and then I'll allow you to promote, and you can say anything at that point except the dollar amount of the book in and of itself. But anything beyond that, book signings and all that kind of stuff, you are free to share. So we're going to go ahead and do our thing for the FCC. Hang on.
WPSC, Wayne, New Jersey. On the radio, 88.7 FM. Online, GoBrave.org. A tune-in radio station. Part of the William Patterson Broadcast Network.
Broadcasting live from Hobart Hall in Wayne, New Jersey.
This is
The Innovative.
I think they're really unique.
The Fearless.
They have awesome variety.
The Kick-Ass.
I love Brave New Radio.
The Sensational.
I've never heard anything like it.
This is the one and only Brave New Radio.
Straight from the WP 88.7 FM Weather Center, here's your local forecast.
Right now in the Wayne, New Jersey area, 53.4 degrees. We've crept up a little bit. Since the 6 o'clock hour. We're working our way up to a high of 86 and a low of 68. All right, we just transposed those numbers. So those of you who are number fans, 8668. So 86 as a high, 68 as a low. Cloudy skies this morning, followed by scattered showers and thunderstorms. Scattered thunderstorms early this evening as well. And then tomorrow, Sunday, mostly sunny, becoming windy during the afternoon. 76 as a high, 53 as a low. And then on Monday, sunshine early, then becoming cloudy later in the day. High of 76, low of 54. Tuesday, a few clouds early, otherwise mostly sunny. 83 as a high, 57 as a low. And then on Wednesday, sunshine, high of 88 and a low of 59. Well, that is the weather brought to you right here from the WP 88.7 FM Weather Center. My guest this morning is Tommy Rosa, and his book is Health Revelations from Heaven and Earth. And right before I shared the weather and the top of the hour and all that with you, Tommy was saying how God really does make things very easy for us, but we as humans, we as man, and when I say man, I'm not talking about just men, I'm talking about overall, we as men kind of mess it up. And so Tommy had the opportunity, he had the experience rather, to actually spend some time. Now, because I know we were talking about in terms of like 100 years here is like maybe 5 minutes in heaven. Right. Do you have a feeling for how much time you were there? Because I know you said you were in a coma for some weeks.
Yeah, a little over 2 weeks, almost 3 weeks. But I really don't know how long I was there, because it seemed like it was long, but it didn't really feel like it was long.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So when you came back to Earth, what was kind of like your reaction?
Well, in the book, you'll see I had the greatest moment of the trip is when I learned who my teacher is. I don't want to spoil it for anyone.
No, because we want folks to order the book. We want folks to buy the book, so don't give it away. Don't give everything away. But it is fascinating.
And then he shows me what God looks like, and that was breathtaking. And then after I saw what God looked like, I start going back in the tunnel of light again, reverse, and I end up in my body in a hospital room, and the nurse telling me I was in a car accident on a respirator.
Wow.
And I was back to hell. And all the pain was there.
Yeah, because at that point you're back, and now you're in the hospital, you're on the machines and everything, and you can feel everything here on Earth.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Talk about going in shock.
So I know we were talking a couple of minutes in terms of some things that you recommended. We talked about the carnitine. We talked about the CoQ10. We even talked about kale. With kale, needless to say, the leaf form is the best. But are there kale supplements? Or do they come in supplement form as well?
Yeah, I'm sure they have kale capsules or something, yeah.
Because
but you know what? Kale's a great treat. You take some and bake it in your oven with a little sea salt and a little bit of olive oil, and they're crunchy.
Yeah.
And they're healthy for you.
Well, whenever, like I told you, I was diagnosed a couple of years ago as being pre-diabetic, and kale was one of the things. I started making smoothies and the whole nine, and a lot of times I was making them with kale. So, and all of my research and reading, kale always comes up as number one. And the fact that you confirmed that yet again this morning, that kale is the number one. So I'm going to continue loading up on the kale.
Well, I know it's wrong with your wife, too. She's missing what's called digestive enzymes.
With the acid reflux.
Yes, because her food's not completely digesting.
Correct.
And she's also missing, now this is funny, because people don't realize this. We have a hydrochloric acid in our body that digests food. But in her case, she has too little. So that's why she's getting the indigestion and also the pain, the burning. So
and
she needs to add what's called HCl, it's hydrochloric acid, for digestion. Still in the health food stores, you can get it there.
I was going to say that's something that's available as well.
Yeah. Once she does that for about 3-4 weeks, it'll be all balanced, and she can stop the HCl. But digestive enzymes we all need, because after age 25, they reduce 75% in our body due to toxins.
So HCl.
Yeah, HCl. And digestive enzymes, like
digestive
protease and
okay, I'll definitely if she's listening,
there's a
and
multi one usually.
So if she's listening, if not, I'll certainly write it down because I'm in and out of the health food store all the time. I mean, in terms of supplements and trying this and trying that, because I'm always reading or either studying about this. And so if I see something like I did with your book, like I said, wow, I remember taking CoQ10. I was taking it before and I stopped for a little while. And then as soon as I was reading that, I went right the next day.
Well, also, the awesome foursome, it also helps the heart. It helps all the other organs, too. Now, Goff-Wall syndrome, Dr. Sinatra found out, is that it's a mitochondrial cell dysfunction. So by taking the awesome foursome, that fixes that, too. Fibromyalgia, another one. So our bodies are constantly being robbed of energy from the toxins we inhale and take in. And that's what we have to counteract. And that's what I learned in heaven, because everything has a frequency, everything has a vibration, good and bad. And we want to keep the bad stuff out and bring the good stuff up.
You were talking as you went through the tunnel, you were hearing the sound or the tone of Om. Now, that's also the same thing a lot of people recommend to use in meditation.
Yes. Uh-huh.
I
realized what that was. I don't know if you ever use it, but I use it once in a while, and I feel that it increases the vibration, too. The Om sound.
All right. Well, again, it's about 7:10. The book is Health Revelations from Heaven and Earth, and the reasons it's named that is because Tommy actually had an NDE. It's interesting they call it near-death experience because you actually had the death experience. You just came back.
I guess I was near death and then I came back. I guess that's what it is.
No, because that's what it's called. I'm just saying, in terms of a play on words, it's kind of like people say near. I guess because you didn't stay dead, that's why they call it near.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, but the person was gone. They were on that side for a while, so it's not like it's near. They were there.
And we wrote the book. I said, let's come up with a great title because I said, okay, I'll be the heaven guy because I was there.
Right.
And you'll be the earth guy. Because you learned the stuff on earth, and I learned it in heaven, and putting the science and the divine together was a great prescription. There's no other book like this on near-death experience because people usually just have the experience going to the light.
Correct.
It's about revelations that help you heal. I mean, we have 116 reviews, and like 81% of them are all 5 stars. And even people who don't give the 5 stars still love the book.
No, the book is very good. Those of you... Tommy, this is the thing. A lot of times, because I do so many interviews, one a week, and that means so many books, a lot of times I don't get to read the book prior to going on the air. I get to skim it. But in your case, I've actually read a good portion of it. Because
what happens usually is when you start to read the book, you don't put it down. Because
correct.
I wrote this book in layman terms because I never went to college. I'm a plumber. So I wrote it in easy terms, but I also wrote it that you go in the experience with me going to heaven.
Right. That's correct.
Like I felt it. And a lot of people told me not to write that way, but I believe that was the right way to write it because I want you on the journey with me. I want you to feel what I feel and see. And it makes you raise your vibration, too. I mean, there's words in there that I was given to put in the book to help open up your heart chakra.
Right.
Like in my divine dream. Did you like that part of it?
Yes.
That divine dream raises your vibration because in your thought process, you're seeing it happen.
Right. That's correct. I mean, literally, as you described the being with the olive brown skin, so forth and so on, I could actually picture in my mind that whole, and the conversations that you were having. And I'm sitting there like you said, going through it with you.
Yeah. That's what my whole goal was because I want you to experience what I experienced. I want you to feel that love. I want you to feel that God is forgiving and God is always there to love you.
And that is a powerful message.
It is, and it's really important because when you start to believe that everything you do is a sin, okay, that lowers your vibration.
Right.
I mean, I had a girl I've been helping out. She thought going to church late was a sin. I says, you have to correct that. Because she's beating herself up over correcting herself for no reason. I've seen I've seen like 19,000 people in all the years I have this gift.
Okay.
And I've seen the most funniest things and the worst.
Oh, things. I think each industry or discipline or what, I think each has its own, because in each one, everyone says you cannot make this stuff up.
No, you can't.
Because I know as principals and teachers, that's our daily lament. You cannot make this stuff up.
Oh, I'm sure you've seen a lot of. You should write a book about how.
That's the other thing people say all the time. You got to write a book. But I mean, really, so I can only imagine in your field and with your gift and the conversations and the people you've met, some of the stories you've heard.
Well, the texts I get.
Oh, okay. Exactly. I am sure. Well, I'll tell you what, we've come to the time in the program where I be quiet and I let you promote. You can promote your website, the book, where it is, how they can get any book signings, how they can get a hold of you, any broadcast. I heard you say you were on Dr. Oz. Any way that folks can find out more about your gift and what you do and what you've experienced, this is your time to let them know.
Well, great. You can go on my Facebook page, and I have everything that we do. Every article that's written is on there. I also did a show called The List, which is you can download the list and put Health Revelations in it, and you can see the whole 5-minute interview. And also, by going on Health Revelations book, you can see a video of Dr. Sinatra and I explaining it. We also have what's called a e-course now. So if you look up on Health Revelations e-course, it's about everything we couldn't put into the book because I had over 1,000 pages of all information I learned. So in that e-course, you learn about what Archangel Michael's like. You learn about grounding. You learn about a deathing process that we couldn't even put in because it was too long.
Right.
I had to have someone cross over.
Right.
But put a little bit in the book. And then we also have what is a near-death experience, because that was 100 pages we couldn't put in. So we put this in this e-course that's on a line available for purchase, but you also can keep it forever and use it.
Now, your Facebook page, what name is that under?
It's under Health Revelations of Heaven and Earth, Facebook. I have one too, Tommy Rosa. I have a Twitter account, Tommy Rosa Near Death Experience, NDE, and Health Revelation has a Twitter account. And we put quotes on the book on 2-3 times a week so you can get information about what the book's about and where I'm going to be. Like I'm going to be today at a treatment center for alcoholics and drug users. I'm speaking to 40 of them today on how they became addicted. Now, I don't know if you know this, but addiction comes from 2 or 3 different processes that happen.
Right.
The most important one is that, and you can't beat yourself up if you're addicted either because it's not really your fault. It's inherited sometimes from lifetimes. And this is what it is. Alcoholism is an allergic reaction to sugar. That's what I learned in heaven.
Wow. So sugar really is the culprit of a lot. And yet, because again, I've had years ago, I had an author of a book called Our Daily Meds. Mm-hmm. And she goes after the pharmaceutical industry. Then there's another book that goes at the food industry. And I've always shared with people, you would think the 2 industries that are supposed to be life-saving are killing us. The pharmaceutical industry and the food industry. Because it really does boil down to, it's not really about us to begin with. It really is about the money.
It's all about the money. It really is. And that's the problem with the world today. Now, let's think about this. If there was a cure for cancer, right?
Right.
All the schools would lose their funding for it. All these people that get donating money to cancer place would stop. The medical doctors wouldn't need to worry about it, right?
Correct.
So it would destroy the economy.
No, it really would. And that thought has crossed my mind as well. It's the same thing with, I know there are certain things, there are inventions that are being held back because it would do just like, say, for example, I'm quite sure they could come up with the tire that never wears out. I'm sure they can come up with the pantyhose that never runs. But that would kill those industries.
Right.
And it's the same thing, like with sadly, for the cure for cancer, it would do just that. It would, all of that would have to now disappear. So you're right. I mean, the things that we have in our minds that, you think it's created for one thing really is designed to support the dollar.
Right.
And that really
what sugar does also, it increases what's called candida and fungus. And then when that gets out of control in your body, it makes you crave sugar and alcohol. So really, it's way the body gets into the downfall.
Well, I tell you, in terms of, because I'm one, I mean, when you talk about loved sugar and candies and cakes and all that kind of stuff, oh my goodness. But once I was now diagnosed, I had to cut all of that out. And I truly did. I cut it out. Matter of fact, when my doctor first told me, when I went back, she told me like in February, and I went back in May and had lost 20 pounds right off the bat.
Yeah, right.
And her first reaction was, wow, you must have really been eating a lot of sugar.
Well, it tastes good. I mean, come on, let's face it. I always tell people, I never smoked, I never drank, I never had a cup of coffee. I just like to eat.
But I tell you, it is a fascinating topic, and I just liked your Facebook page. That's why I was asking you what is it under. So I just liked the one with the book title.
Right. Yeah, it was. I just, I was really against doing all this social media stuff. But I have no choice.
Well, for me, because
no one's ever going to get the word out.
Exactly. That's exactly because when all of this first came out a few years ago, I mean, the first one I remember was the kids had the MySpace.
Right.
And I hadn't done anything with it. I was like, that's a kid's thing. And then Facebook came out not long after, and it dawned on me, wait a minute, this is an advertising vehicle. This is a vehicle for me to promote. That's when I got into it. And after that, I went social media wild. I mean, everywhere I could, I was putting the reading circle on there. Matter of fact, that's how we wound up linking her, because I think Barbara saw it and she contacted me. But so that, from that perspective, I always say, so back to the positive, negative. Social media is extremely powerful if you use it wisely, but it also can be used destructively.
Yes, and that's everything in life, though.
Correct.
So I came to the terms that I need to have a social media presence, because otherwise people aren't going to find you. I mean,
right.
The book, I never had a social media process in my mind, but I realize you need it, because the book's going to become successful. The people make it successful.
Correct.
They don't know about it. They can't make it successful.
Correct.
And, I mean, I don't do this for the money, believe me. I do this because I know it's going to change someone's life.
There you go.
And, I mean, I always donate everything I can do. I put money into a grotto. I didn't even have the money, and I put it into it because I felt that God saved my life, and I've been there since I was a kid, and I had to give back to something.
Correct.
And that's what I did. I mean, I'll give my last dollar in my pocket to somebody. And it's so funny. When I was down and out and I was sick, you get tested sometimes.
Right.
And I was on the street in New York City walking, because I used to walk a lot after my accident because I couldn't walk. So the more walking I did, the better, healthier I got. So one day, there's this homeless person, and he has a sign, and he asks for money, and he has a crucifix on the sign. So I have $5 in my pocket, and I felt so bad I gave the $5 I had to him. Left me with nothing. And, I mean, I lost my business. I lost everything I had because I was out of work for years, and I just couldn't do it.
Right.
And the car that hit me had no insurance or nothing, so I was tested. So I gave the $5 to this man, and a couple hours later, in my head, I hear a story, and it's God speaking to me and telling me that was him. He tested me.
Well, that goes back biblically, because that's what it says. And that's why, that I can totally relate to, because that's why it goes back again. Be nice to everybody you meet, because you really don't know.
You don't know who they are, right?
You don't know.
To the fun part of the story, I go into a cab to go, right, to ask the guy to have a cab ride, right, the next day, and there's a $100 bill on the floor.
Wow, it multiplied.
Came right back to me.
Came right back, that's right.
So this is what I want people to understand, is that what you do good always comes back. It might not happen instantly.
Correct.
It will come back.
Correct.
And comes back in different ways. It might not be a monetary thing. It might be a social way or a physical way. It might not even see it, but it will happen.
That's correct.
You got to have. You have to have hope.
Yes.
There's no hope in the planet today.
That's correct. Well, I tell you what, I have had a blast speaking with you this morning. Your story is dynamite. It is one that needs to be heard and understood and believed. And I honestly believe that that were to occur, the world would be a better place. Because really, there was a song called Spread Love. That's really what we're trying to do, is spread love. Trying to help folks understand that love really does overcome.
Oh, yeah. And you know what? It's free.
Exactly. So again, the website is healthrevelationsbook.com. Go to www.healthrevelationsbook.com. The author is Tommy Rosa, and he also has Dr. Steven Sinatra. Like I said, if you go to the site, there is a YouTube video there, or a video rather, that's there. That they is that a minute and 5 seconds, or is that an hour and 5 minutes?
No, it's a minute and 5 seconds.
Okay.
But also, what's really interesting is that Suzanne Summers endorsed our book too.
I remember her from Three's Company.
Yeah. So if you look on Health Revelations, Suzanne Summers' Facebook page, you'll see a whole minute interview with her talking about the book, how the book changed her.
Okay, all right. So that's Chrissy. Well, she was Chrissy, right? I believe she was Chrissy. I believe her character was Chrissy. Yes, I remember her well from Three's Company.
She enjoyed the book, and she read it, and she did a little promo for us too.
Oh, outstanding! But the book,
she also said these books don't come along a lot in lifetime. She referred it to as the book The Secret.
Yes, I've read that one as well. So, and again, I love your book. I'm reading it. Matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and add it. We've chatted. I'm going to go ahead and finish it up. Like I said, I was up to chapter 10, but I'm going to go ahead and finish it up over the next few days. I wish you nothing but the absolute best.
And if you need anything from me, just give me a call, okay? I'm always open. So.
I will. And matter of fact, Barbara sent me I'm assuming that's your cell number. So if that's the case, I'll text you or either. And this is recorded as well. So as soon as I'm done the editing and all that kind of stuff, I will send you a copy of the link, and you can do whatever you like with it.
Oh, great. And also people, if they need to get in touch with me, they can get me on Facebook. That's the best way.
All right, because I was just on your page, was just there. Matter of fact, I see you have. Okay, you said Twitter. You're on Pinterest as well, and Instagram.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll be following you on all your sites.
Oh, great! Thanks so much.
All right. Have a wonderful Florida day, and I will be in touch.
God bless everyone.
God bless you as well. Take care now.
Bye-bye. Thanks so much.